Good morning, and welcome to First Unitarian Universalist Church of Rochester. We're a church that believes inspiration comes from many teachers and traditions, and that many spiritual paths guide us in values of justice and love. Your faith, your doubts, your questions, your identity are welcome here. You can join us after service for refreshment and conversations in the commons downstairs. Families are always welcome in the sanctuary. There's also a preschool playroom open anytime and activities for children following the Time for All Ages. Hymnals are available at the side of the sanctuary if you'd like that to help follow along with the music, but lyrics will be up on the screen as well. And today we're glad to return to a tradition of celebrating music and particularly our instruments. Today, this large one behind me, this beautiful organ, as well as our voices. Many thanks to the choir and to Austin and Joe for a beautiful service this morning. Wednesday evenings, you can join us for a slightly changed schedule. Supper is still at 5:30, followed by choir. And then from 6:15 to 7 is youth group and a fireside forum with childcare. This week's forum is about our National Association's work on Article 2, revising our principles and purposes. You can join us for this important conversation and some potential changes to our 7 principles as we continue to the work of regularly reforming and reimagining our faith. You can find more in the e-news as well about that. Supper is at 5:30, choir at 6, and then the forum at 6:15. Each month, our offering goes out the doors of our church to support our values in the community. Throughout this month, we've been giving to the Rochester branch of the NAACP. Thank you for giving. You can give online or as the plates pass today. And finally, if you haven't voted this week on the future of our building and grounds, voting ends today at 3:00 p.m. All members are invited to vote online through a special link that was emailed or in person at the table in the lobby today, or by calling the office with a voice vote. I guess if you call by 3, even leaving a voicemail, Erica says that's still good, so you can still call, even if you can't find the email link or whatever. So you have till 3:00 today. Results will be finalized, and an e-news will be sent out to the congregation as soon as those are all tabulated and finalized as well. So thank you for all who have participated already. It's an exciting time in the life of our church. So I invite you to take a breath as we enter our time of worship this morning with these words from the Reverend Eliza Tupper Wilkes, our minister in the 1870s. May our faith in humanity and our message of hope and good cheer light our way. It's good to be together. In just a moment, our opening hymn will call us back, but I invite you now to rise in body or spirit and give a greeting to those around you and to those online as well.
To Worship by Jacob Trapp. To worship is to stand in awe under a heaven of stars, before a flower, a leaf in sunlight, or a grain of sand.
To worship is to be silent, receptive, before a tree astir with the wind or the passing shadow of a cloud.
To worship is to work with dedication and with skill. It is to pause from work and listen to a strain of music.
To worship is to sing with the singing beauty of the earth. It is to listen through a storm to the still small voice within.
Worship is a loneliness seeking communion. It is a thirsty land crying out for rain.
Worship is kindred fire within our hearts. It moves through deeds of kindness and through acts of love.
Worship is the mystery within us, reaching out to the mystery beyond.
It is an inarticulate silence yearning to speak. It is the window of the moment, open to the sky of the eternal.
like to invite the children forward, or really any children, young people, adolescents, people interested in magic, or you might want to go on a little trip up here. Okay? So, yes. Thank you. Exhibit 1 of the best member of the congregation. Good job, Maya. So I want to tell you a little secret about the chancel. This is called the chancel, this thing that some people might call a stage for a recital or things like this. This area up here, it's kind of like has a portal in front of it, and magic happens on both sides of this. But when I wear this, sometimes I kind of feel like a wizard up here, kind of feel like I'm from ancient times, and I kind of like that. So I want to see, if you feel like a wizard, sometimes you need a what? A wand. So we're going to test this wand and see if there's actual magic that lives on the chancel here. So I'm going to teach you a little phrase first. The first phrase is semper reformanda. Can you say that? Semper reformanda. Semper reformanda means to always be reforming, always be changing. And that's part of our tradition, that we believe that change and always learning new things and learning from the past and recreating them again and reimagining them again is a good thing. So let's see if anything happens when I do this. Semper reformanda. All right. Maybe the wand's a little weak. Fair. Or maybe you're the magic person or the magic thing back there, the spirit, is very funny. I'm going to teach you another phrase, all right? This one I know the choir will know well, so they'll be able to say it too. Jubilate Deo. That means glory to God. Another way to understand that in many different traditions would be grateful and so glad that there is goodness in the world. All right? Should we try that one? Ready? You can say it with me. Jubilate Deo. Yes. That's what I was looking for. Yes, that's good. So magic happens, but does magic just happen on its own? Not always. Sometimes it takes a lot of rehearsing and practicing, and sometimes it takes special people. So as you're able, I invite you to come with me on a little trip up into the magical land. Come, this way. And we're going to traverse a magical mountain. You can come across the threshold of the chancel. Come up as you're able. Or you can come over here and look. Or you might be able to find things up here on the screen. Come on up. Into the magical mountain, Mount Austin. So you can gather right up here, and Austin's going to show you a little bit about this instrument.
Good morning, everyone.
Hi. Good morning.
Hi. So, how many of you guys have been up here before? Oh, that's more than I thought was going to raise their hands, but that's okay. All right. Well, this is the organ. You've heard me play it a lot. You've heard Connie play it a lot. Do you know how it works?
Sort of.
Tell me how.
Kind of like a piano.
It is kind of like a piano. We have keyboards, but there are 3 of them.
There's also kind of keyboards for your
And a keyboard for your foot. That's right.
foot. Yeah.
Well, so it's a little different though. The piano makes sound when you hit strings with a hammer, but the organ is all air. We have different stops over here, which kind of make different sorts of sounds. You can have very soft, very pretty ones. You can have very loud ones. I call that the party horn. And then there are a couple of different things. You can pull different ones to make different sorts of sounds. So we can make it nice and soft and kind of like bells almost. Or big and loud like a hymn. Really kind of neat. Do you know what my favorite stop is? The bagpipe. That one's a lot of fun. So, I think what might be kind of fun, why don't I pull just a couple of these? Everyone come take a turn and play a note or two. Beautiful. Here, I want to come on up. Beautiful. Very nice. We have a foot stand.
Right? Stop.
Beautiful. You want to come play something, Maya? Beautiful.
Yes.
I'm going to be out of a job soon, I think, so we got to be careful with that. Beautiful job, you guys. Thanks for coming up and kind of exploring a little bit.
Yay.
Oh, yes, we do have a glockenspiel.
Beautiful.
That's a fun little toy.
Music is kind of a magical thing that transports us into different times and places and cultures, and this instrument helps with that. And you're going to transport into another time and place with Chantel in just a moment. So as Austin plays this hymn, you can meet Chantel over here by the door. Thanks for coming.
This brief history of the organ was written by Harriet Hodgson over 20 years ago for the 20th anniversary of the organ installation on February 25, 2001. Music has played an important role in our church since the very early years of our congregation. As mentioned in our church's history, in 1889, our predecessors acquired Rochester's first pipe organ. This was when we were a Universalist congregation housed in Grace Church. 42 years ago, our church inaugurated this distinctive organ. It was given to us by Mary Kaler Hench in loving memory of her mother, Mabel von Kampen-Kaler, and her two maternal aunts, Cora von Kampen-Adams and Elsie von Kampen-Crew, who was our church organist for many years. To commemorate the new organ, the church published a brochure about it. According to this brochure, Irv Miller, then president of the church, announced the gift of the organ on October 24th, 1976. Irv also recalls talking with Mary Kaler Hench about the new organ. She didn't want anything ostentatious, he said. She wanted the best organ for the money, a stately organ. Marion Keith designed the hand-carved pipe shades for the organ. Harriet asked Marion how this came about. I was head of the design committee, she said. The designer was going to send us a more ornate facade screen, but it was too ornate for this church. So I designed these wooden covers. The organ was designed by Charles Hedrickson of St. Peter, Minnesota, the leading builder of pipe organs in the Midwest. We have his original plans for the organ in our archives, along with the stop list and general specifications, both typed on old-fashioned onion skin paper. There's also a letter dated June 1st, 1978 from Charles Hendrickson to Irv Miller, and it says, "Jeff has done a marvelous job of designing this new instrument, and I am pleased that we have arrived at a concept for the organ which is outstanding in every way. Hendrickson said we were fortunate to have such a talented music director and designer. The letter said it would take more than 30 months to build the organ due to its design and the latest addition Mrs. Hench has made. Our organ is unique for many reasons. First, it has something called floating mechanical tracker action from all 3 keyboards and the foot pedals. The trackers adjust automatically to climate changes, and beautiful materials were used to make the organ. Walnut for the case, ebony for the sharps and flats, turned rosewood for the stop knobs. The organ has a vast array of stops, and you hear my co-director of music, Austin Ferguson, uses many of them on Sundays when the organ is played. Most of all, our organ is unique because of its sound." Jeff Davis isn't our music director anymore. He went on to a career of performing around the world before he passed away in 2021. Several years ago, when Jeff played here, Harriet visited with him between services. Though he was familiar with the organ, he was still in awe of its sound. "It's one of the finest organs I've ever played," he said. And it is one of the finest organs we will ever hear. Jasper Dalby was president of the church on Sunday, February 22nd, 1981, when the organ was inaugurated. Today, we again celebrate this magnificent organ, a regal treasure of sound and spirit.
Good morning. It is good to be with you. I invite you to settle in here as we create a place of communal caring and connection. It's our time to pause amidst the busyness of our lives, to slow down enough to consider the beauty that is here all around us, and to open a space for listening and love. Here we honor all who support us in this caring, loving, and all-inclusive ministry. We send gratitude to Ronice Donovan, serving as our caring coordinator, arranging care for our members and friends in need for the last 2 weeks. Julie Gilkinson will take over tomorrow for the next 2, and we thank her for that. The members of our caring committee are wonderful examples of our compassionate community, holding us up as we go through challenging and happy times. And life can be challenging. We could all use some extra support with what life throws at us. And if you are experiencing those challenges in your life, we encourage you to reach out for support and help. If you need additional care, whether it be personal, pastoral care, or other assistance, please reach out to myself or Reverend Luke with that request. In this community, we share pieces of our lives with one another. We do this because each person here has value. Each person's experience matters. We lift up those who are experiencing sadness, illness, or loneliness. May the strength and love in our congregation help guide you. We revel in those who are experiencing joys in their lives. May their happiness lift us all, and may their joy filter into all around them. May all of us find love, hope, joy, and healing strength in our community. After 2 weeks in the hospital, Roxanne Schlesner's mother-in-law, Jean, at age 92, has been released into a hospice program. At this time of transition, we send strength and love to Jean and the entire family. And Jay Smith sends his thanks and gratitude to you all for the cards and calls and visits as he recovers from several strokes in Lake City. A special thanks to all who helped to pack up his apartment here in Rochester as he prepares to move to an accessible space. We send him our love and strength for continued healing. Here, our service to each other, to the world, and to our faith is our focus. Let us carry that out into the wider world. May the faith and the spirit of life, love for the community of earth, and love for the light in each other be ours now and in all the days to come. And we will now receive the offertory.
deep the breath of life. Feel below you the earth in its ancient turning. Above you the sky, and beyond that the stars shining with their ancient light, holding you in this moment, this breath. You yourself made of earth and stars. Know that in this house you are named and you are known as beloved, as sacred. I invite you into this time of meditation, this time of prayer, first by sharing silence together. Spirit of life, source of love, God of many names and beyond all naming. The cycle of the news always holds the potential to throw the soul out of balance. With persistent trauma, with cyclical oppression, with questions and longing and sorrow and fear and frustration of another young black life taken by law enforcement. And a litany of so many untold stories, unknown suffering within the larger patterns of oppression. May we continue to be moved by such stories so that the heart stays attentive and moved toward compassion. May we lean into generative and life-giving practices that sustain our work for a better world, art and music, among others, that are about creation, that draws us out of the self and into community, because that's where change happens and is sustained. That's how other movements grow, like solidifying abortion rights in Minnesota. To know that we remember when one is harmed, all is harmed, and that to truly be liberated and free, we all must be liberated and free. In this sacred hour, we hold our own joys and sorrows, our own and others, some spoken, some silent. I invite you to bring the joys or sorrows you're holding in your own heart this day, and in silence or aloud at this time, to speak their names. We hold this day Bill Hindy and family. Bill was a member of the church. His wife, Jeannie, who is a friend of this church, died this past week after many weeks and months of illness. We hold their family close and send them love as they remember her. May her memory be a blessing. We hold all those joys and sorrows silently or aloud in our hearts. May we all be held in love and strength. These words of meditation are from the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, speaking of music, especially jazz and the blues, and its power in the midst of systems of oppression. He wrote, "Many things come out of oppression. God has endowed we creatures with the capacity to create. And from this capacity has flowed the sweet songs of sorrow and joy that have allowed us to cope with many situations. Jazz speaks for life, the blues tell the story of life's difficulties, and if you think for a moment, you'll realize that they take the hardest realities of life and they put them into music, only to come out with some new hope or sense of triumph. When life itself offers no order, no meaning, the musician creates an order and meaning. From the sounds of the earth which flow through the instrument, it has strengthened us with its sweet rhythms. When courage has begun to fail, everybody has the blues. Everybody longs for meaning. Everybody needs to love and be loved. Everybody needs to clap hands sometimes and be happy." May that be so. Amen. A reading from Mary Oliver. I worried a lot. Will the garden grow? Will the rivers flow in the right direction? Will the earth turn as it was taught? And if not, how shall I correct it? Was I right? Was I wrong? Will I be forgiven? Can I do better? Will I ever be able to sing? Even the sparrows can do it, and I, well, hopeless. Is my eyesight fading, or am I just imagining it? Am I going to get lockjaw or something else? Finally, I saw that worrying had come to nothing and gave it up and took my body and went out into the morning and sang. Not long ago, when I was shutting down our home for the day, coffee maker ready for the morning, dishes washing, the dog let out and treated, just a few minutes after the last lights went out, when I thought all was quiet, I heard music start playing downstairs in the middle of the living room. I did what any good Scandinavian Midwesterner would do. I held my breath and played dead. Slightly terrified. Not really, but I did stop silently, and I listened for a moment and thought, what the heck is that? And it was pop music, like a radio station had turned on. It was not something familiar, something normal, like church hymns or something one would expect in my living room. So after a moment, I had a pretty good idea, because I had remembered it had happened once before, but in the middle of the day when it was less frightening. Something about the interaction of the Bluetooth speaker and the auto sleep function on the computer and the computer application shutting down and the sleep timer turning off, and all of a sudden iHeartRadio just starts playing, and it was all just connected right in the middle of the night and the quiet and the dark. Out of nowhere, music just filled the space. You likely know a playlist in your own mind where, depending on how you're feeling or where you are in the world, or a moment or a person or a story reminds you of something, and like a playlist in the soul on shuffle, a song just springs to life out of nowhere, seems to sing from your core as if the song is singing to you. Sometimes you just start humming something and you think, where did that come? Or someone asked, why are you humming Jingle Bells in June? And you're like, I don't know. Something reminded me of this person, which connects back to Christmas, and then whatever. There's something at our core that sometimes right in the middle of darkness and silence bursts out in song, in some soundtrack, some playlist. Sometimes it's in anger, and you have to belt out the words of a favorite ballad in the car. Or sometimes it's in grief, listening to something that brings a lost loved one as if they're right back in the middle of your heart again. Sometimes it's in joy, like when the sun returns for a few brief hours and it seems that eternal darkness may not be our plight. And then you start singing, I want to soak up the sun. So often, right in the middle of darkness and silence, in the soul, in society, music springs forth. Reminds me of a time in the midst of a Martin Luther King Day march in St. Paul a few years back. The leaders of this march for Black Lives stopped in the middle of the intersection at University and Lexington, perhaps to get some snacks at the restaurants nearby, but also to simply stop, create a space in the middle, and blast some music. And they had a pop-up dance party in the middle of the street. Because, as Emma Goldman once said, if I can't dance, then I don't want to be part of your revolution. Music is so often the root, the core, the spirit, the energy that sustains movements for justice and liberation. Or in quieter settings, when someone who has lost much of their cognition due to illness or simply an aging mind, when music they know is sung or played, even if they no longer know the names of the people in the room still, often they can begin to sing the song or hum it or tap their toes or open their eyes and respond to music because it speaks at a different level, connected something to deep in their core that doesn't go away. Sometimes you don't know those connections are there and they just pop out of nowhere. Sometimes when making a recipe at the holidays for me, I'll just start humming some Swedish hymn. Or on warmer days with the windows down in the car, I'll sing the songs from the Motown and oldies stations I memorized growing up, because that was the music playing in my house along with the country station most of the time. Or in trying to meld that music of my growing up with my liberation values now. So not only hymns, but also oldies and country songs with justice and liberation values. I find myself nourished when I hear the harmonies and twang of Brandi Carlile or the Highwomen singing about honky-tonk bars and southern choirs. Something about it nourishes me, and I go, thank God there's some progressive country songs. It's beautiful. These deep sentiments of inclusion and universalism and love. So if you find me listening to music, which I think is probably true for almost all of us, we might be surprised on what is on each other's playlists, what music speaks to someone when you have an idea of who they are or what they must love. I don't always listen to hymns, though I love them. That's what music does. It's an expression of and nourishment for the soul. It is so often the energy at the core of who we are as individuals, how we move as movements, the ways that we in this space gather together our voices and hearts that span generations. We hold in our hands, or at least sing the lyrics off the screen, of generations of spiritual traditions and people joining their hearts and their voices together through instruments, through voice, through lyric, all holding ancestors and us at one moment. It's what roots us and connects us within our stories. And sometimes a song comes out of nowhere and we connect with styles and genres that only make sense at a soul level, a feeling level, something core to who we are in our history and our grief, our loss and our joy. And when we ask all the questions, and the soul is a swirl of worry and angst and uncertainty as individuals and communities, and we ask, was I right? Was I wrong? Will I be forgiven? Can I do better? Maybe music can help us to answer. And finally, I saw that worrying had come to nothing, and I gave it up, and I went out into the morning and sang. Amen.
Thank poem by Elizabeth Alexander. Each day we go about our business, walking past each other, catching each other's eyes or not, about to speak or speaking. All about us is noise. All about us is noise and bramble, thorn and din, each one of our ancestors on our tongues. Someone is stitching up a hem, darning a hole in a uniform, patching a tire, repairing the things in need of repair. Someone is trying to make music somewhere with a pair of wooden spoons on an oil drum, with a cello, boombox, harmonica, voice. A woman and her son wait for the bus. A farmer considers the sky. A teacher says, "Take out your pencils, begin." We encounter each other in words, words spiny or smooth, whispered or declaimed, words to consider, reconsider. We cross dirt roads and highways that mark the will of someone and then others who said, "I need to see what's on the other side. I know there's something better down the road. We need to find a place where we are safe. We walk into that which we cannot yet see. Say it plain, that many have died for this day. Sing the names of the dead who brought us here, who laid the train tracks, raised the bridges, picked the cotton and the lettuce, built brick by brick the glittering edifices they would then keep clean and work inside of. Praise song for struggle. Praise song for the day. Praise song for every hand-lettered sign, the figuring it out at kitchen tables. Some live by love thy neighbor as thyself. Others by first do no harm or take no more than you need. What if the mightiest word is love? Love beyond marital, filial, national. Love that casts a widening pool of light. Love with no need to preempt grievance. In today's sharp sparkle, this winter air, anything can be made, any sentence begun. On the brink, on the brim, on the cusp, praise song for walking forward in that light.
invite you, as you're comfortable, to place a hand on your heart or toward the sky or the earth in gratitude and breathe deep the breath of life. Go yonder, and gather the people. Give them not hell, but courage and hope. Give them something of the love you have found here, and tell all the people that love is our home. Amen.